I call the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister for Finance.
And thank you, Madam Speaker. And I would like to put on the record on to Hansard that I do think you're a genius. And I commend you. And I commend you for your giving tree. I think it's very appropriate, and I would urge members to take the opportunity to make a donation and put an offering on that tree, which has an angel on top, which I believe bears your resemblance of your face, Madam Speaker. But given the fact that it is the 25th of November, 1 month out from Christmas, and with apologies to Clement Moore, I have a poem for the House. Because Labor is fixated with the night before the election. So here is my poem. "'Twas the night before the election, when all through this house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stocking was empty, the cupboard was bare, because Labor had governed for 6 years without care." Indeed, indeed they had. And that is why our country, our nation, is in such a mess. Now, the member for Gippsland pointed out to me that during the member for McMahon's effort, that he was talking about the Prime Minister using an alibi in that the budget was worse than expected. And yes, member for Gippsland, the budget was worse than expected, but an alibi is only needed, as the member for Gippsland pointed out, when a crime has been committed. An alibi is needed when a crime has been committed. Now, the only crime that's been committed was by the Labor Party, and that was over 6 long, shameful years. 6 long, shameful years where they took the electorate for granted, they took the nation for granted, and they took the economic management of our country for granted. Now, on May 12, 2011, Wayne Swan, then the Treasurer, was caught out on morning radio when he couldn't answer the last time a Labor government had produced a surplus. And it was pointed out that it was 1989, and that was before the member for Longman even saw the light of day, before he was born. Now, the member for McMahon was sworn in as Treasurer on June 27 last year, after that rather forgettable years of mismanagement by Wayne Swan, the member for Lilly, and he served until the election. And the deficit blew out from $18 billion to $30 billion in just a few weeks prior to the election. And then, when the mid-year economic and fiscal outlook was produced, we discovered, to our horror, the Treasurer Joe Hockey discovered to his horror, that the deficit was in fact $48 billion, and cumulative deficits, as far as the eye could see, $123 billion. And we heard in question time today, may not have been heard up this raucous end of the chamber, but the member for Fraser calling out, "What are you doing about the deficits, Joe? I mean, fair income. I mean, love a duck. I mean, what are you doing about the deficits, Joe? I mean, really and truly, the deficits caused by that side." Now, Aristotle, and seeing as though I'm into quoting today, Aristotle said more than 400 years before Christ, to avoid criticism, say nothing, do nothing, be nothing. I think he was probably summing up what the Leader of the Opposition, who is not fit to lead, but the Leader of the Opposition is all about to this country. Now, on November 12 this year, journalists said to him, "What would you say to Vladimir Putin if you came across him at G20? Shorten, nothing. Journalist: "So just to clarify, you wouldn't seek to talk to Mr Putin?" Shorten: "Not in the first instance." Now, I mean, doesn't that sum up what the member for Maribyrnong offers to this nation, what he brings to this parliament, what he gives to the Australian public? Nothing. Absolutely diddly squat nothing. Now, the contrast between the coalition's success after just 13 months, 14 months actually, in government, and Labor's legacy after 16 years in office could not be more stark. Contrary to what those opposite would have you believe, and contrary to what the red-faced member for McMahon was shouting across the dispatch box, we are cleaning up after Labor's debt and deficit legacy. We are investing for the future, and we're getting on with the job of building a more prosperous nation for Australians. Building a more prosperous nation. Labor didn't have the stomach for difficult choices, didn't have the stomach, but we're doing it. We're getting on with the job. I bumped into the Minister for Immigration the other day in the airport, and he told me that we had closed 9 detention centres. And you might laugh, member for Rankin, but 9 detention centres. Now, most of those unauthorised arrivals came when the member for McMahon was actually doing the job, or trying to do the job, or indeed failing at the job, failing dismally at the job of being the immigration minister. And Labor's policies allowed 55,000 half of whom came under the member for McMahon's watch, 55,000 people who we then had to deal with, process, and each and every one of them cost taxpayers $170,000. Now, with money not being spent on detention centres, and let me tell you that Labor put more beds in detention centres than they put into hospitals in Australia, which is absolutely shameful. But if we hadn't have had to spend money on those sorts of programs, maybe the ABC wouldn't have to undergo the savings that it is now, wouldn't have to undergo the less than 1% per year for 5 years of their $5.5 million budget. And so the choices are quite stark. You either get Labor again at the next election, and we bring back the carbon tax, we bring back a revised version of the mining tax, we bring back the illegal arrivals, or we stick with the government of the day, the coalition, who are building the roads, who are stopping the boats, who are ending the waste, who are doing everything that we said that we would do. Let's not get too caught up with an interview on SBS the night before the election. Let's not get too cute. Let's not get too cute about what might have been said the night before the election. I mean, we are doing things because our economic situation. Our economic situation, as left by Labor, is in a mess, and we need to fix it up. And the mums and dads out on the street expect us to do just that. They don't get too caught up. They don't get too caught up with the big words and the Weasley words of the member for McMahon, who is just doing a job advertisement to be the next opposition leader. I mean, don't worry, he's not counting the numbers of the deficit. He should have been doing that when he was in the Labor Treasurer for a few short weeks. He's doing the numbers on getting the job as the opposition leader. And quite frankly, I feel a little bit sorry for the member for Maribyrnong. I do feel sorry for him, because he hasn't got the wholehearted support of those people behind him. And nor does he deserve to have it, because I mean he knifed two Labor Prime Ministers, let's not forget that, Rudd and Gillard. But the fact is, we do have a Prime Minister who has the support, the wholehearted support of the Liberal and the National parties. And that's what we're about. We're about solid, strong, secure government. That's what we're bringing to the Australian people. That's what we're bringing to make sure that the debt and deficit legacy of Labor is but it is memory. Now, we've removed the carbon tax, as we said we would, $550 savings for the average family. We've removed the mining tax, as we said we would, so that we could create jobs and growth for the members for, I can see Flynn up there. I know the member for Dawson was absolutely elated when that mining tax was lifted. Now, had it not been abolished, Labor's mining tax could have been expected to raise $668.5 million over the forward estimates. But the associated spending done by Labor, the associated spending was expected to reach more than $17,000 million. So how can you raise $668.5 million but forward spend $17 billion and then go and promise the regions all these sorts of things that you knew you were never going to have to deliver? Labor knew they were never going to be able to deliver it, because they knew they weren't going to be in government. They knew that they'd mucked it up so badly. They knew that they'd mucked it up so badly in 6 long, disastrous years that change was needed, and indeed on September 7 last year change was accomplished. Now, achieving efficiency savings across the Commonwealth and the ABC has to occur. And look, we'd all love to be able to fund the ABC to the level it is now, but under Labor, there were 10% efficiency cuts in defence. Yes, 10% efficiency cuts in defence. And did we hear the chest beating and the hand wringing and all that was going on? Did we hear that once from the I almost said ABC there. I meant the ALP. Did we hear that once? Not really. They just came in and they cut defence, pared it back to pre-World War II levels, back to 1938. And, people in my electorate were absolutely outraged, because my electorate is, and I know the member for Gippsland, who is the Parliamentary Secretary for Defence and doing a damn fine job at it too. I know how people in his electorate were outraged about that. So let's not go too cute about a few cutbacks to organisations which do need efficiency measures to be implemented. Let's not get too cute when your side actually cut back spending in defence by 10% at a time when we were fighting a very deadly war in Afghanistan. So let's not get too cute about that. We've abolished the carbon tax. We're getting on with the job of building the roads of the 21st century. We're repairing the mess that Labor left, and we're fixing up the budget so that we do get one day back in surplus. Thank you.